welcome Lisa Gibson.
Thanks.
When's the last time we talked? Like a minute ago?
Like 5 years ago. No, just kidding.
All right, so we're going to do what I'm calling an interview. Could call this a podcast. We'll call it a chat, informal. And let's just kind of go through who you are, what you do, and how you feel about what you do.
Okay.
on your best day, I guess. So let's just start simple. So what is your title at Jenesis?
My title is Implementation and Training Manager.
Implementation and Training Manager.
Yes.
So what does an implementation and training manager do? So when you're talking to your friends and family and they say, what is it you do again? And you explain that to them, what do you say?
I say I do a lot of things.
Yeah.
Our team is in charge of onboarding new agencies or users, and then also helping with the conversion process and getting those people onboarded and trained.
So let me paraphrase that. So your team's responsibility is to take new insurance insurance agents that are new to Jenesis Software and show them how to use it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a much better answer.
And the other big component of what you guys do in your department is people that are also new to Jenesis who are converting from another agency management system. You work closely with the customer in testing that out, that training, make sure the conversion data is good, and you also you are either part of or work closely with, depending on the system, the conversion team at Jenesis who creates that data conversion.
Correct.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And so how long have you done what you're doing right now?
My exact position?
Sure. Or tell me the evolution. What's the evolution of Lisa Gibson?
Well, I originally started with Agency Advantage 9 years ago. And then we were, I guess, bought out or merged, or what's the proper term?
Acquired is a good word.
Acquired.
Sounds sophisticated.
By Jenesis. And how long ago was that?
2021. 2021. So almost 3.5 years.
Okay, yeah. I was thinking 3-4 years. And previously I was the CEO, I guess was my title, which kind of lumped in everything that I did at Agency Advantage. Other than just office manager, in charge of training, overseeing everything else that goes on. And then when we came over here to Jenesis, I oversaw implementation, training, and support. And then we decided that that was a much bigger role, and we separated the department, thankfully.
Yeah.
Thankfully for me.
Yeah. Good. All right, that makes sense. So, which is harder, the training piece or the conversion piece? Are they similar?
They're similar. I guess the conversion part, just because they have that data to compare from the previous system and they're used to the previous system, so it kind of makes it a little harder. But they're still learning a new system either way. So.
Right. Okay. And when you talk about training an insurance agent how to use Jenesis software, how to use, specifically we're talking about the JenesisNow product. Sometimes it's Jenesis Classic, or sometimes it may be Agency Advantage, but it's mostly how to use JenesisNow. What's the general method that, if you're telling me, so I'm buying JenesisNow, I'm going to be a new customer of yours, and I say, how does this work? Then describe to me what you would say, what can I expect in this process?
The training process?
Mm-hmm.
So there are your online learning courses that you go through, and as you go through that process, we recommend, like, after each course or section that you schedule with your trainer, doing one-on-one via Zoom, and we go through what you've learned, make sure that you're setting up your system correctly, make sure you know how the workflow should be done, or if you have any questions about how you did things in your previous system and how you should do them over in Genesis.
Okay. How long does that take?
For an agency that is committed and on top of things, probably about 30 days. That's our target, is about 30 days.
So I'm watching videos and then meeting with a person.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes about 4 weeks to get through that. If I stay focused and I'm not slack, I do what I'm supposed to do. And about how much time am I going to spend a day, a week, or during that time, however you want to look at it? I am curious, how much time is it going to take me in those 4 weeks, ballpark?
It's our training sessions with the trainer, and usually people do that like once a week, depending. And then the videos can take anywhere between 3 to 5 hours
Total?
Depending on what they're doing. But that's just like the video content.
Okay.
But if you stop and practice and then, watch the next video and then stop and do it in JenesisNow, which is the way you should do it.
Yeah.
So it's fresh in your mind, then it takes a little bit longer.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is, you said 3 to 5 hours of content, so let's call that 4 hours, and we said about 4 weeks. So if I'm planning this, I'm going to be your student. I'm probably going to say, okay, I'm going to block out in my calendar an hour, 1 day a week, or I'm going to block out 15 or 20 minutes about every day, something like that. Or I might block out an hour every morning or every evening to watch 15 or 20 minutes worth of video. And then, like you said, pause now and then and rewatch when needed. Mm-hmm. And actually on one monitor, hopefully everybody has more than one monitor, and then go over to my other monitor where I've got JenesisNow up and practice, because seeing it's one thing, but then doing it really helps commit it to memory, right?
Yes.
So cool. So then I would block out probably an hour a week, and if I get done if I get done on Thursday, great. If I don't need all 4 days, that might be what I would do. And then also at the end of that, once a week, I'm going to meet with someone in your department, on your team, and that meeting's normally scheduled for how long?
An hour.
An hour. And what happens in that meeting?
You go through what you've learned in that course, and the trainer will go through and make sure that you're setting up the system correctly. Like the admin section is really important, making sure everything up front is set up correctly, and then just walking you through the flow of that section and how everything works.
And I get to ask questions, I guess, and that kind of thing.
Any questions, anything, a lot of times you'll get, well, I did it over in this system this way, so how do I do it over here?
Right.
So, which is normal. You're like,
right.
Okay, so how do I do it over here?
Yeah. So cool. That makes sense. That's helpful. So, how many people are on your team?
Including myself, 3.
Okay. Who are the other 2 people?
Gia and Terry.
Gia and Terry. And do they do the same thing that you do?
They do.
I mean, you're the manager. I get that.
I'm the manager.
Okay.
So they strictly do training, conversion testing, and stuff like that. I do. So they're 100% training.
So they're not as much in conversion testing as you are.
Correct.
You're I think, if I remember correctly, you're doing a lot of the onboard calls, onboarding, getting the customer kind of set up. Or is that right? Are you the first person the customer speaks to, a new customer, or not necessarily?
Actually, well, I send out the new credential or the new user credentials and the welcome to training, and I put in there who their trainer is and all that information. But they schedule a kickoff call with me, but I've actually been assigning that to the trainer, so they call and that's who they speak to. Because the way we were doing it, when I would call, then they're like, oh, Lisa's my person, and then it's like, oh no, your trainer is this person. So we found it easier just to have the trainer do the kickoff call. If they can't, then I do it. So.
That makes
Teamwork.
a lot of sense. Yeah, making it easy for the customers, it's good to be aware of that, because when they go through the sales process, they're dealing with one person.
Mm-hmm.
Then they may be dealing with someone else during the conversion, maybe. Then they may be dealing with somebody else during training, especially if there's two people in the training department they're dealing with.
Yeah.
Then after they're finished training, they're getting assistance from the support department. So there's a few people in that department. So it can get a little confusing for people to know, for the customer to know, who am I supposed to call for what.
Yes. And remember everyone's name. It's like, who was I talking to for this? Who do I need to contact for
Tell
that?
me what your title is at Jenesis.
So my title is software trainer. Yes, that's it.
And what is a software trainer at Jenesis? When your friends or family say, what do you do, Terry? What are you doing now in this new job? How long have you been here, by the way?
I have been here now 8 months.
Okay.
I've been here 8 months.
So 8 months, and you're a software trainer, which means, how do you explain that to your friends?
Right. So like explaining to my mom, who's, not all tech savvy, I'll go software trainer, and then they go, so what do? You whatever? I say, so picture being on a journey, and with every journey you need a guide. So basically, we have clients, they sign up for this new software, and it's a new journey to them. Everything that's new, it's a new experience, just like a journey. So I'm guiding them through their system, answering questions for them, and just helping them feel more comfortable in what they have just purchased or the journey they've begun.
That's
so
awesome.
It's like a guide.
Yeah, I love that. That's perfect. Tell me your history. You've been here 8 months.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me a little bit about the life and times of Terry Reno.
So, wow, it's been a journey. I actually have a degree in mass communications. I did radio for 15 years. The station that I was working for decided to do like a hub location, and they wanted to relocate me. But another person who was in the same position, she got relocated like 2 or 3 times. And at that time, my children were in school, and I just didn't want to be relocated 2 or 3 times. So I decided to switch careers at that time. I had a relative who was in insurance. He was a regional sales manager. And he was like, you would be absolutely wonderful for insurance. And I was like, insurance? And he was like, because of your personality. I was like, okay. So I gave it a try, loved it, fell in love. I was like, yeah, because I get to talk. I like to talk. If you have not noticed, I like to talk. So I did that. And then my dad took sick, and I was at home. And then my husband kind of took over working. And I was like, well, no, not time for me to start doing something again. So here I am. And when I saw this opportunity online, I was like, oh, my God. Because I've used the software. I was like, oh my God, this is a wonderful, I know how, I loved using the software. And I was like, and I get to talk. It's like teaching. So I can teach someone to use something that I enjoyed using. And if they have questions, I could definitely help answer them. So
yeah, that is cool. It makes a pretty good story too, I would imagine,
Mm-hmm.
when I don't know how often you share that, but you should probably, when you're training a new
Genesis
user, to be able to say, I was in your seat.
Right.
At one point. Christy, I don't know if you've ever had one-on-one meetings or talks with Christy, but you've seen her in team meetings and so on,
Mm-hmm.
our sales department. She's been with Genesis quite a number of years. I'm not real sure. Depends on how you look at it, because she came, left, and then came back. But she's been here probably roughly 10 years or something like that. And she was a customer. She was a Genesis user.
Mm-hmm.
She used Genesis probably in 2 or 3 different agencies.
Okay.
Years ago, back to 25 plus years ago.
Oh, wow.
Genesis was pretty new. So that's not kind of fun. It's really fun for me to have somebody that's used the product and now be on this side of it. I just think it adds a different perspective.
Yes.
It's really healthy and beneficial to the customer. Oh, by the way, so Gia, which is an unusual name. I think you're the only Gia I've ever met. Have you ever met another Gia?
No, it's become more popular. I've met a Mia, a Tia, a Pia, but not one with a G yet.
Am I pronouncing it right?
Uh-huh.
Gia. And pronounce your last name for me.
Menchaca.
Oh my gosh, I would have butchered that. So, and You've worked at Genesis for how long?
I'm coming up on 2 years this year.
The reason I asked that out of order, probably from the other people I've asked. The reason I ask it right now is because I'm thinking, I apologize that I would have trouble pronouncing your last name after 2 years. That's my fault.
No worries.
But you have to admit, you've got it easy with Price. I mean, everybody could, Eddie Price, that's two common names. Gia, whatever your last name is, both of those are unusual names. So you could get either of those wrong.
Yeah, it gets butchered often, but most time people just say, well, how do you pronounce it? And then that's like the saving grace.
Yeah, good. So let's start by you telling me, what is your title at Jenesis Software?
I am a software trainer for JenesisNow, one of our software systems.
And I'd forgotten that you are or were a licensed insurance agent. Are you still licensed, or have you let your license go?
No, I'm still licensed. I won't let that go.
So
that test is too hard.
I know it is hard. So Terry, who I just met with, as you know, hers, you may want to tell Lisa or somebody this, hers says on the website licensed insurance agent, and yours just says insurance agent. So one of them is probably more accurate than the other. So you may want to tell Lisa and make them the same. So that's interesting to me, and that's a feather in the Genesis cap. Thank you for being licensed and having agents experience, because that makes Genesis look better. For 2 of the 3 people in our training department to have prior experience as a licensed insurance agent, and I do. I owned an agency for almost 30 years, or several agencies. But the last 10 or 15 years of that, I really wasn't active in the agency day to day, because I'd already started Genesis, which is now over 25 years ago. But I came through that, and I think that makes me do what I do better. And I think it makes you do what you do better, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. I feel stronger in my training techniques when I am able to communicate to agencies how this product would benefit me as a salesperson or a customer service representative in an actual agency. So that, I even had one of my favorite questions that I've gotten is Marty with RV insurance. He was like, okay, so tell me why I would really need this, because here's my client database, and he shows me his pen, his piece of paper, and I'm like, and I just, for me, I see it more as just being such a tool for not only active clients, but your prospects, your canceled policies, for those win backs, for that, sales pipeline, anybody I met when I was in an insurance agency, if I didn't sell you today, I was still going to try to call you in 6 months and try to sell you later, maybe, So for me to be able to push that onto, or I guess, explain that to agencies on how I would have utilized the system, because I'm familiar with what it takes to be an insurance producer and do sales and also customer service. It was funny because he's like, okay, that makes sense. I see why, you could have, pen and paper all day long. Don't get me wrong. I'm old school. I do pen and paper all the time, but as far as really wanting to have a client database, this is the most amazing tool ever. And that's only, and I just said that because I've worked on Easy Links, I've worked on Salesforce, I've worked on other products inside of agencies. So that is my huge takeaway with Genesis, is how I would have utilized it. So that helps me a lot in my training. I think that it comes across really genuine to them,
So you mention it to most people that you have prior experience as an agent?
Oh, yeah.
I would too.
I do.
You get some points right there, and because they don't really, they'll appreciate you more than if you're somebody who's never walked in their shoes. It'd be like, how would you like to have a whitewater rafting guide on the boat that had never done it before? Why do I even need you? I can just do this myself.
I'll do it my own. Yeah. No, I do. I bring it up. I mean, it's just natural. It's not like I'm bringing it up to try to, but it's easy for me to relate. And I'm like, well, this is how I would have used it in my agency. This is how and people will ask, well, how do I get, one of my favorite questions I get through email a lot is like, how do I get a report to do this? And, I will do a video for them, and we have so much cool stuff in our reports that it's just a matter of fine tuning it and finding exactly what they need. And they're so grateful over, agencies are so grateful over the smallest things like that. They're like, oh, thank you so much, and I'm like, well, this is how I would put it to use, but here's what you're looking for, and it helps to relate to the client so much better, being that I was, in those shoes for 20 years, 20 plus years.
Yeah, that's very cool. Christy in sales, she was a prior agent. As a matter of fact, like Terry previously used Genesis in her agency, Christy worked for 3 different agencies, if I remember right, back in the 2000s. So 25 years ago, give or take.
Yeah.
She worked at 3 different agencies, I think, that used Genesis before she ever came.
Oh, that's cool.
On the Genesis team. Yeah, that is very cool. And Jenna, my daughter, she worked I still had the agency when she finished college, and she worked in the agency, plus she worked in the agency through high school and college. And then after school, she worked full-time in the agency before she ever moved over to Genesis. So I think there's value there for sure.
Oh, I believe that for sure.
I think it helps us serve our customers better than otherwise. So
I agree.
Let's assume that I've signed up for Genesis, and I'm assigned to you. I'm your new trainee, and we're on the phone for the first time. How do you describe, how am I going to be the most successful? What does this training program look like? If I'm big on wanting to know, and I am, what's this look like? What do I need to do to be successful? How do you describe the next few weeks to me?
So generally the way, I do that in my kickoff call. So I give them like an overview of what to expect through training. And so I let them know, there's a couple of ways you can handle training. You can go ahead and tackle the online courses and, see how you feel after doing those. And then we can do live one-on-one Zoom meets where we can dive further into what you learned online, or maybe you just have some questions and I can give you those answers. So just like a Q&A session. But if you'd rather, maybe you learn better with just really diving in, and you'd rather go through some sessions that we already have an agenda for, we can do that too. And that's exciting because we do one-on-one meetings. They just take about an hour long. We can do anywhere from up to 3 or 4, and we basically go from the ins and outs of how to use your Genesis system and how it would work best for you. Things that aren't really going to matter to you, or that maybe you're not going to implement at this time, we can skip over and always come back to training on those at a later time. But for the most part, I'm here to help you get started and get your system, best for your agency, on how it's going to work best for you and your staff. So you tell me how you want to do it. We can, here's my link. I can send it over to you, or if you'd like to schedule right now, we can do, some meetings, or you can dive into those online courses.
So I have options like that.
Yeah, I kind of leave it in there. I let them know, because what I've learned through the last couple of years, or for the last year and a half, is that some agency owners don't really have the time to, maybe the 9 to 5 work hours to commit to an hour-long, Zoom session or anything like that, but they want to do the online courses after hours, because those are always available. And so then I'll check on them. I'll see how often they're what's being completed. And then that gives me a gauge of okay, let me send an email and see if they want to do live training, or if I can answer any questions, since they've already knocked out, 3 or 4 of these online courses. I like to make it comfortable for them, because I know as an agency owner, you most likely have a lot of different stresses, and I don't want to add, you got this new system, and I don't want to be an added stress, you got to get training right now.
Yeah.
So I'm here for you. Yeah. What can I do to help you make this work? And I tell them you being successful is me being successful, so please let me know how I can help you be successful.
That's a good point. And I'm sure you've seen some agencies not be successful at the training program, kind of drop out.
Unfortunately, yeah.
So if I'm starting And now you've sort of seen what works and you've seen what doesn't work, sort of.
Right.
And some of that's personality type, I guess, and whatever, and maybe unfortunate moments or circumstances in life sometimes. But what would you tell me, Eddie? Here's a couple little tricks that's going to help you increase your chances of being successful and getting through this in the next 30 days. Are there any tricks or tips you would give me of what's worked and what hasn't worked?
So I think what really, if the client can do some of the online courses and start to dive into the system sooner than later, I feel like that has led to more success. Those that have put it off and are like, oh, we're going to get to it, and then they never really, necessarily do any training. No Zoom calls. They maybe did 1 or 2 of the online courses. Those are sometimes, the ones that I get a little worried about, because I'm like, what else can I do to help you be successful? I can't hold your hand. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink, kind of like the old silly saying goes.
Right.
But like, there's only so many calls or emails that I can send out till I start feeling like maybe just bugging or like bothering you, because I'm not here to do that either.
Right.
I mean, it's their bottom dollar, and I've had clients say, look, I am not going to use this for the next 2 months, but I will be ready then. And they've come back around and boom, they're ready to go in that time frame, but maybe they dived in on a special that we were offering or something like that. And it's just not a good time for their agency to really like change over.
Right.
But I let them know that's fine. I'm here for you whenever you're ready to get started.
Right.
There is no time push, no pressure. I'm totally available for when that time is good for you. So don't know that I could think of anything that's like,
It sounds like your simple answer is normally the best option is do it now and do it fast.
It seems to be the one that works the best. Yeah.
And which, by the way, is true for probably most things in life,
Yeah. I agree.
So, yeah.
What's the most challenging part of what you do?
I would say getting the customer, agents, users to be engaged and really dive in and complete the training. So with people's schedule, you're working, your agency's running and you're busy. So sometimes they find it hard to find time and commit to training. So that's been a challenge. I think it's always been a challenge with any kind of learning, just kind of committing to it and knowing that if you do the training up front, then it's going to make everything easier long term.
For people who find it more challenging to stay committed, to make an appointment, because when the week comes and goes, and like in my schedule, I intended to work on this an hour a day. Let's say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we're crazy busy, right? Whatever. So I'm getting toward the end of the week and I've not done it. And then I show up at the meeting and I'm not prepared. Any advice for those people? What do they need to do, or what do you do? What options do we have for people that are super busy? How can we motivate people, or what advice can we give them to be successful?
Well, if with the really busy people or people that we have, a challenge trying to get them to be committed, we will work with them. Like maybe they're only wanting to do the online courses because they can do it at any time. So that's fine. If they're, doing that, then we're okay with that. They're learning. If people don't have time or they just are not interested in the videos, some people aren't, then we can just do the one-on-one training and get them through that. And we'll just kind of go through everything they would learn in the videos in the training session. So it may take a little bit longer. So
customization is available,
yes.
And it may just kind of change how long the program takes and how that plays out. Okay. What do you think is the hardest part of what you do right now?
The hardest part of what we do? Um, that's a good question. Let's see, the hardest part.
What do you complain about now and then at the end of the day? There's got to be something.
Let's see. What do I complain about? Oh, I don't really complain because I get it. I did both sides, But I guess that's what I say. I go, I get it. I know whether. So I know when you're in the insurance industry, things are moving so fast. Like they're sending emails. Like we'll get emails and no one waits for the reply. So like, it's still not working. It's still not working. It's like, wait a minute, so, and it's like, read the email. I fixed it or it's fixed, but it's like, we're moving so fast, no one, but that's the world in general. Everyone's moving so fast. Right. It's like everyone's speaking, but not, listening to hear or wait for a reply. But other than that, that's it. But I mean, I totally understand because in our client's industry, it's a lot going on. They're juggling a lot of balls, have a lot of things in the air. So, yeah.
So to summarize that, I think what I hear you saying is one of the struggles or one of the things that's hard sometimes is the customer kind of not paying attention to all the communication. They might miss something. They may think something's still outstanding. A solution or problem, whatever. And
that's it. Yeah. They just missed it.
And hopefully what we do with automation is we make an effort to improve people's efficiency. We try to do it internally for ourselves as we try to refine and improve things here. And that's the whole purpose of Jenesis Software, is to improve the efficiencies for our customers. So hopefully over time, as they learn the software better, it actually gives them time back, to some degree.
Correct.
And that's the goal. That's the goal, is that we have a lot of tools that make them accomplish more in a day. So hopefully one of these days they're accomplishing a lot and not feeling as busy, because that's really where we want to be. And we want to be there too. If you, in your role, if you are slammed from the time you come in to the time you get done and you don't have time to breathe, I know sometimes that can be exhilarating, but eventually that kind of burns you out, and you don't have time to breathe and think, and you don't have time to be innovative and creative. So I think if we can give that to people, that's a big gift and a big obligation for us to work on, to try to provide that for them. What's the most challenging part? So like at the end of the day, you think about ending your day and I started to say going home, but you work from home, we all do. But you turn off the computer and you're with your family and you say, wow, this was hard. What's the hard stuff? What do you complain about at home?
So I don't have many complaints, but sometimes the questions that a client will ask when it comes to maybe like what's going on with my downloads or what's going on with maybe like sometimes the accounting and the commission, I feel like those are like areas where I am still tackling every day and learning more about, even though they're pretty simple things. But like I sometimes get a big question mark in my head and I'm like, I don't know the answer to this, and I hate not having the answer, but I know that I have a lot of resources I can go to, that will give me the answer. But sometimes I'm just like, I don't know, and it's just one of those things. That's a great answer.
And I think most of us could probably, if anybody said it to any of us, what's the hardest part about your job? That's not a bad answer for anybody to say. The hardest part about my job is when I don't know something. When I don't know how to, when I can't help somebody.
And I'm supposed to be the teacher, so so for me,
I think the good news is there's always going to be something you don't know. Always.
Yeah.
And also the good news for you is the customer, odds are they've not caught you on 10 things today you didn't know. They probably caught you on one thing you didn't know. And that's okay. So you go learn it. Now that's one more thing you know. So there's one more thing that's not even a possibility now for you not to know. So
right.
You're slowly reducing that pool of unknowns,
Very true. Very true. So, yeah. And I have no problem telling a client, because I'm a working project, a work in progress every day as well, So I'll say, I am not real sure, but I'm going to find out the answer for you. And I definitely, and that's when I wear on myself a little bit, because I'm like, come on, Gia, and then I'll ask Lisa. And sometimes I'll be like, duh, I knew that, but it happens.
What is the most rewarding part or fun part? Is there a fun part to what you do?
Yes. When they start with the product and they're like, oh my gosh, I love this.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this is awesome. And it's like, oh, okay. It's like we see it every day. So when they're excited, it makes us excited. So, but
see it every day, you said? That's pretty powerful.
Not every
I was going to say that's.
Yeah, every single day. No. Yeah. No. When we, there's actually quite a bit of people that onboard and they get very excited because it's either easy to use, the functionality, they just like the features. So,
well, it's neat, I think, and it does make your job a lot more rewarding and satisfying and pleasurable when, at least sprinkled in that experience, they're saying, oh, that's cool. Like when you show them something or they realize, oh, I didn't know I'd do that. That's cool. That feels good. And I've been there. I know what that's like to be the trainer years ago and experience that,
Yeah.
And of course, on the other side of it is when they say, oh, you mean it doesn't even do that? There's those occasions when the software doesn't do everything under the sun. And sometimes they hoped or thought or believed that it would do one little piece that maybe it doesn't do. Now, a lot of times in my experience when the people are patient, they'll realize, I would say 80% of the time, when they say, oh, I needed to do this. My old system used to do this. I believe 80% of the time, if they'll give it 30 days, maybe 60, they'll say, I like the way it works now, just fine. Don't worry about it. Mm-hmm. I know 30 days ago I wanted it to work this other way, but that's just because that was my habit. What's the most rewarding part of your job? What do you like the most? What's the most fun?
That is my favorite. So I like that when we're doing the trainings or sending the emails, that our clients are wonderful in regards to giving feedback. And when you see that light bulb go off from them, like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. And they're like, thank you. And I'm like, it's my job. Like I didn't do anything that's not my job. It's what we're here for. And they're like, oh my God, thank you. You made my life so much easier. That makes so much sense. So when you see that light bulb go off and they're excited, then you get excited because you're like, yes, they're excited. I'm excited. So mission accomplished.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think we're also blessed, Terry. Here's what I feel along with the lines of what you're saying is we've got a team of people that seems to be a little accidental to me. It's just a gift that I know you said you're just doing your job. A moment ago, you said, I'm just doing my job. But it seems like people that when I'm observing all of you, from my perspective, it seems like everybody's doing a little more than their job.
It is because
to me,
like I had one client email me and tell me thank you. I was helping her with a report on a Saturday night.
Oh no!
Because I saw her email pop up and I was like, oh, I want to answer her so bad. So I jumped in and she was like, oh, you don't have to help me. I was like, no, because I get it when you're working. You're staying in the office trying to get something done. So when you come in on Monday morning, you can hit the ground running. And she couldn't figure out how to get this report. And I was like, it's no problem because I know how to do it.
Right.
I can easily jump in there, help you get it situated, and we're done. Yeah. Your life is easier. You can leave the office on a Saturday. So it's little things like that, and they appreciate it so much. And it takes, 5 minutes of your time to make someone's week easier, then it's a thumbs up for me.
I'm with you. A thumbs up for me, too. And I think you're right in that it doesn't take, we don't have to work twice as hard. Right. We don't have to work 80 hours a week to really make a difference for them and for them to realize it. And we're also blessed, and I think we're all grateful, like you've said already a couple times. They're grateful, and that makes our job easier.
It is.
When you go a little extra, and they're really coming back at you with gratitude.
Yes.
Oh, you'll keep doing it.
Right.
What's the next opportunity? That feels so good. I want to do that again.
It does.
If you were dealing, and I don't know if it's industry related or what it might be, but if you were going that extra mile. We've all done this a little bit too. We've had experiences in our life. You go that extra mile and you don't get recognized. At some point, that kind of beats you down.
Yeah.
And you might quit going the extra mile. So it helps us, I think, that our customers are really good pretty frequently. You also see it in the surveys that are done. So in your department, surveys are done at the end of your training series and says, how did Terry do, right? I think that's
correct.
Like that.
Yeah.
Or how'd Gita do, how'd Lisa do? And they give you a score from 1 to 10. They give you any feedback they have. The two things that are interesting about that, the scores, I think, average like a 9.8 or something, right? It's practically a 10. So there's almost never a 7, 8, or 9, let alone a 4, 5, or 6.
No.
The other thing that's surprising, and we saw this the other day in the team meeting, is the percentage of people that actually respond to the survey. Because I'm bad, and this is terrible. As a matter of fact, as I'm saying it, I know I need to get better. I'm going to try to start doing better now. If I get a survey from a company that I do business with, my inclination is to not do the survey.
Right.
Because I'm busy.
Right.
But 20-something, I think the other day, wasn't it, in the team meeting?
Yeah.
Over 20%, like 22% or something of the people that are surveyed respond and give those scores. So that's a big response, because I think industry average might be 3% or 2% or something really small. So that's really cool. The other thing, I'm sorry I get excited about this stuff, but I'm so grateful and I appreciate it's exciting to see it happen, because in the last almost 30 years of doing this, there's been phases of time that it wasn't as amazing as we see it today. The other thing is those survey responses and the percentage of people responding, we see the same thing happening in our sales department when people are responding to demo surveys. You know, how was that demo? How did the salesperson do in the demo? We're seeing 10s on the product and 10s on the 9s and 10s on the product, and almost always 10s on the person. And then finally, same thing with support, because after people experience the support department, they will randomly get a survey that says, how was your support with Benny, Adam, Andy, Eric, Darren, whoever? And they're all 10s as well.
They are.
And the percentage of people are responding is unusually high. So it just feels good.
It does.
Feels like the team meeting the other day. Lisa got off that meeting. She said, oh, wasn't that a great meeting?
It was. It really was.
Yeah, energy was so good, and things. Feeling it again now. What's the most rewarding thing about what you get to do? What do you go home and tell people? When people ask you at home, what do you like about your job? What is it?
I get so excited when our agencies or our clients are loving, like some of them are just, they're so intrigued by the system. They want to know everything that it has to do with them. They are so excited about it. Like, I worked with this and it never would do that. Or, you know, the way it downloads and the way it does this for me and the way it does that. I like literally will be clapping and jumping for joy with my clients when they are, you know, showing me what they've learned. And that to me is the most rewarding thing ever, is because I showed them how it worked, and they come back into a next training session and they showed me how they implemented it. And when they show me how they put it to work, I'm like, that's amazing. You know, you took what little bit of tidbit that I gave you and you ran with it. And that to me is super exciting, because I want, like, especially when we have new agencies that are just getting appointed and they're like, oh, I got my appointment with Progressive. I mean, we cheer together, you know,
big win. Celebrate.
Big wins, absolutely. You know, so those are the most rewarding things. And I know I'll get really excited. And I've had a few clients say, I love Gia's enthusiasm. And it's like, it's so genuine, just really me just being like, oh my God, that's so exciting for you, you know? And so those are the big wins I take home with me at the end of the day. You know, that stuff's cool.
I love it. And I think that could be one advantage in those customers that you get to do the one-on-one training with versus those that you don't, you know.
Right.
So some of the people you're not exposed to because they're just doing online training, but when you do this, and especially if you do an hour meeting 3 or 4 times, you start to get to know people. It's like watching the first episode of a TV show. Normally the first episode doesn't resonate with you, but about the 3rd episode, you're starting to identify with the characters.
Yeah, and you're starting to figure out what character you like and what character you don't.
Like. Yeah, and you know how they're going to react to things. So I think it's that way with this. I think
I love it.
You get a few training sessions into this, you get to know that person. And then when something's going well for them, you genuinely are excited about it. And I can tell even from now that that you are genuinely.
I do. I get
these people.
I get so excited, and that's so true, because some of them I've had, when we're on our 3rd or 4th one, we've told each other a little bit of stories. We've, kind of, linked in on things that we can relate to. And so it becomes like, it's almost sad when I'm like, okay, I guess this is our last session, but I'm here for you if you need me, but I enjoy getting to know, those clients that do want to reach out and meet with me. And then the other ones, sometimes I just, we do well through email. We communicate great through email, and if that works best for them, I want to be flexible, and so that's what I'll do for them.
Anything that you see changing in the future? Any hopes, dreams about 2025, which we're recording this video now in January of 2025.
Yep.
Anything about the future that you kind of see for your role, for your department, this company, for insurance agencies?
Well, one exciting thing in our team is we're starting weekly Q&As for anyone to join, and then we also are bringing back the new feature webinars each month.
Okay.
So we're pretty excited about that.
Well, that's cool. So how will the Q&A work?
That'll be 1 hour once a week, and there'll be a link, there'll be emails that are sent out, there'll be promotions, and they can just log in, ask questions. They can hang out and listen to other people ask questions, or they can ask their question and leave.
I think that's awesome.
So there's not any commitment that you don't have to register or anything. They just pop in and they can either hang out and listen to others, which I've done with different softwares, because I'm like, oh, what are other people going to ask?
Yeah.
So it's like,
sometimes
maybe
those people ask them. Yeah, it
Yeah.
definitely very often is. They'll ask a question, and sometimes you'll even get to talking to that person. I've been on meetings like that where I would just connect directly with that other customer of that service and be able to say, how are you doing this and how are you doing that? And sometimes even make relationships and connect afterwards. Anything, and if the answer is I don't know or no, that's fine. When you look in the next 12 months, 3 years kind of thing, any hopes, dreams about what you see in the future for you, for this company, for our customers, for the industry?
Well, as far as us and the company, I know in the team meeting and in all of our individual department meetings that we're all, brainstorming, trying to come up with the next big thing or the next amazing thing. And I think we're definitely on a good track that you're going to see great things to come in the near future from Genesis. And because I know you're always asking for great ideas and implementing things that, taking surveys and gathering information from the clients and customers to implement that. So I know we're on, like I said, on a great track. And as for the future, and you're already doing that with the AI implementation and everything. So we are, I think we're ahead of the curve here.
Got it. I think the last question I've got, Terry, is if you were giving advice, if I'm signing up for Genesis Now, I'm a new agent. Maybe I'm doing a conversion, or maybe I'm not doing a conversion. And you're going to be my trainer, and you're going to start training with me next week. What advice would you give me? What's the recipe for success working with you over the next few weeks so I know this product well?
And I'm speaking from experience. So listen closely, lean in. When I was working on the system, and when I tell you, Lisa and her team, because I remember Lisa specifically, would email encouraging you to do your online training, to set your one-on-one Zoom training courses. And I know in the agency, you're very busy. There's a lot going on. But even, find some time to do those online courses, because 85% of your questions and your knowledge will come from those courses. That last 15% is going to come from your one-on-one Zoom trainer. So they can reiterate what you've learned online, and you can ask the questions after you've done the training. Again, I know people are busy in the agency, but the training, and I say this from experience simply because when I was in the agency working on the system, I didn't go through all my trainings, I will admit. And then coming here now and doing the training, I realized there was a lot of features, wonderful features that could have made my life easier that I didn't know because I didn't do the training. So yes, training is the key to success with this system. It's easy to navigate. It flows easily. It has a lot of reports and different features to make your life easier. You just have to learn them and know where they are.
Okay. Well said. Good advice.
Yeah.
And I think you're dead on. 100%. Is there anything about the future that you're excited about? And by the way, if you say, nothing comes to mind, but anything interesting or on your mind about the future of your job, your role, your department, the company, the industry?
Oh, all of that. I feel like absolutely. To be in software, for me to be in the software industry and just always have been in insurance, so there's never really that bridge there to bridge over. So the fact that I was able to bridge over into this type of career and industry, I'm really excited to see what the future holds for us with the, changes that maybe come with the software, with the companies that we take on as we grow bigger. I think that, I love, of course, what I do now, but I think that if the opportunity came to maybe we took on, new software and I was training in new areas, that's exciting to me too. So yeah, I have big hopes for the future, my career. I am so passionate about this company that I can't, I have a lot of love and just can't wait to see where it's going to go. And if we don't go anywhere and we all just stay right here, that's okay too. I'm happy where I'm at as well. But I'm super excited. And I think that I know that you're a successful businessman, Eddie, because you've been, you had the insurance agency, then you went into the software, then you went, and now you're expanding into marketing. And so those are just, to me, I have a lot to learn from you. So I also look forward to that, of what you have to offer, along the way. So it's exciting.
Thank you for saying that. And I'll make sure to leave this part in the video for sure. Because I'll have to play it for Lisa,
No, I truly.
In all honesty, so I'm 58, be 59 pretty soon. Started working for Farm Bureau right out of college. So for me, however you old, 22, 23, right out of college.
Mm-hmm.
Did that a couple years, and then started my own agency, and when I was probably 24-ish.
Wow.
So for a long time. Now, here's my point though. The Eddie you get today is not the Eddie you would have gotten at 24 and 26.
I believe it.
Now, the Eddie at 24 and 26 and 30 thought he was smarter than the Eddie really is today. And now the Eddie today looks back and says, whoa, we made some mistakes. And it also gives me insight into knowing I'm not done yet. I mean,
exactly.
I can't, you continue to make mistakes. You never stop making mistakes. And I appreciate all the kind words you said for sure. But I truly think that I think we are where we are more because of kindness and caring than just raw intelligence. I think when you live by certain principles in life and you care about people and you treat people right and you just simply do the right thing, that life will often work out for you pretty well. And we have just been so blessed. Lisa and I talk about it constantly, how blessed we are today. And Gia, we're more blessed today than we were 2 years ago, 4 years ago, 10, 20 years ago. And we're blessed because of the people, by the way, not the finances. We've grown in finances every year for almost 30 years. We've never had a year that we went down. We've always gone up, and that's a blessing. But the true blessing is how much enjoyment we get. Just like this time I've spent with you, it's been crazy enjoyable.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I do too. Think about how much time we might be spending doing things that are miserable. And I do think it's important for us each to engineer our lives for the most optimal experience. And sometimes, by the way, that means that somebody says, I'm this season of my life doing this job as I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to go do something else. Like you were an agent one time. Now you're here.
Mm-hmm.
Terry one time was in the radio business. Now she's here.
Mm-hmm.
So it's okay to do that too. But yeah, thank you for the kind words, and Lisa and I.
Yeah,
we appreciate everyone that works here. We're honored and privileged to get to work with the smart, kind people that we get to work with. So,
and I think that says a lot too. Being kind, it's also, it builds a good path to just be kind to people and appreciate those that work for you or you work around. And I definitely always feel appreciated in this company, and that I feel like is a true core value for sure.
Yeah, and it's an easy one to miss though, because, and I do it sometimes for sure, where you get busy. And we do it with our spouses.
Yeah,
you get busy and you forget
to
care and be considerate, and we need to stop and be in the moment more. So. Cool. Any parting thoughts? Any final comments today?
No, I love my job. I love Jenesis. Great place to work.
Jenesis loves you.
So, and all of our great customers. So
yeah, we're blessed with great customers, no doubt about it.
We are.
It's all about the people. Everything that we do is about people internally, team members, and customers that we serve.
And that is 100%. One thing I really like when customers come to us from a different service, and they just love that we're so helpful and we're so friendly, and they're just like, everyone's been great. And it's like, oh, see, great company.
Yeah. So. It feels good, doesn't it?
It does. It does.
And it feels good to be like, we've been blessed to report, as you know, every year has been a record year in terms of growth for the last 25 years and revenue and customers and everything else. But you got to admit, that feels good when you talk about it now and then, and it makes you feel good in terms of job security.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't feel warm and fuzzy. It feels warm and fuzzy when you get an email from a customer that says, this person was amazing, or this response was amazing, this service was amazing, this feature is amazing. When you go out of your way to serve somebody and help them, and they're blown away, and
they appreciate it, and they're like, oh my gosh,
yeah, that's tremendous.
You don't get the service other places. So,
right. Yeah, but I agree with you. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for your time. Anything else, right, you would like to add to today's conversation?
No. Oh, well, what I like to tell some of my clients when they're doing conversions, and you can see they're getting a little flustered or overwhelmed. I said, just think of it like moving. You have all of these items in your house, and they fit in your house, and you bought a bigger house. So clearly they're going to fit in the new house. You just have to figure out where they go and learn, and get comfortable with the new positioning of the item. That's it. That's all it is. It's just a move. Yeah. Like in a home, you just have to get used to. So yeah, everything is going to fit. We're going to bring everything over. And once you get settled in, you're going to love it.
Yeah. But sometimes it takes a minute to adjust.
It does. It does.
To make it homey.
Right.
Anything else you want to add or talk about today?
No, I wasn't real sure what this was going to be like, but I just enjoyed my time with you, and I don't really, have anything other to say.
Well, I've enjoyed it too. So
thanks.
I need to do these interview more so we could get to meet everybody more, because it's different. It's different, Gia. This is different, even though it's recording. This is still different and better than just saying hey to somebody in a meeting with 25 people on it.
Yeah, no, for sure. I feel like this is the most I've ever talked to you.
Yeah, it is. Definitely is. If you could just say, Gia, welcome to the meeting, or
Exactly.
Good point, Gia.